So I am starting this street scene, I guess, or it's an alley scene by plugging in the shadows. And this is a mixture of ivory black and cerulean blue. My colors for this were essentially a triad, but I added a fourth color so that I could get some darker darks with this. And one of the first things I did was lay in the sky, and that's because that kind of helps you key the lighting in the painting. The sky should always be the brightest aspect of the painting. And I got a question from Dallas at Bestowing the Brush asking, what is your strategy for sketching underneath the paint? How does that usually go for you? What level of foundation do you like to lay before you paint? And so actually I did a little thumbnail sketch like this on a post-it note just to get an idea of this scene. And I also used my camera on my phone and on my camera to kind of get an idea of just the perspective and the way that I wanted to crop this and to get an idea of the way that the scene would go in. So once I did that thumbnail, then I kind of transferred that same sketch onto my main surface like this. Here you can see me laying in the sky, and I pre-wet the page like this so that the water would take a really smooth gradient. The water would take a smooth gradient of this paint, but I actually decided that that was the wrong color. So I shifted it a little bit more blue, a little bit more cerulean blue, a little bit of white to get a smooth gradient like that. Just kind of drink up that bead of paint at the bottom, and the paint really settled nicely into a smooth gradient for the sky. So now that I've laid the shadows across my scene, I'm looking at my vertical planes, which are going to be my probably some of the most dark things in this painting. So usually occlusion shadows, like a shadow underneath a car or a dumpster or something, will be your darkest dark, but then verticals will be your next most dark thing in a scene. Today I'm going to use cerulean blue, burnt umber, yellow ochre, ivory black, and white. I like using this 1-inch golden Taklon brush because it lets me get angles like this on the rooftop of this garage and this other one in the scene. And it also lets me cover a lot of ground really quickly, which it was kind of interesting as I looked back at the footage of this. When I was out there painting, the whole time was an hour, but actual painting time was 30 minutes. And if you get rid of the time that I was mixing paint, just putting paint on the paper, it was about 15 minutes. So it's kind of interesting how that shakes out, how much time it takes to look at a scene and find it and mix up paint and things like that. Here, this light pole is a lighter color than the light pole down the way, and so I'm not even entirely pleased with that color yet. This is just kind of gray, yellowish gray, but I'm going to adjust some of these colors later, and that's kind of the beauty of gouache. Like, I can paint over some of these things I've already laid down and adjust my colors and my tones, and I can always fix it later. Jackson asks, when going plein air painting, what do you look for in a scene to paint? And you really can find anything. One of the things that I'm a big advocate for, though, is looking for scenes to paint near you. You don't have to paint a beautiful mountain seascape or something unless you have a mountain seascape available to you. But actually, what I was trying to do here, this is just an alleyway across the street from where I live. And I was looking at trying to do what James Gurney calls a non-motif. He defines that as a scene from our everyday world that is familiar but rarely interpreted by artists. And he wrote an article about that in International Artist magazine, which I read. And he shows a lot of his different non-motifs. And it's really fascinating to think about, I think, trying to find beauty in a scene that maybe normal people wouldn't think of as beautiful. I mean, this is essentially a scene of a dingy alleyway, some garages, and a dumpster. But beyond that, there's also compositional things that I was attracted to. The fact that it's a one-point perspective, the fact that there's shadow and light, different things like that, the ability to use atmospheric perspective, all of those things kind of attracted me to this scene. But I really set out to try to do a non-motif instead of looking for something that was classically beautiful, to try to find something like just these trees, these poles, these shadows and light, and to appreciate it for what it is. And that's kind of what attracts me to urban sketching and plein air painting. Anything can be beautiful if you really take the time to appreciate it and enjoy it. Here I am dry brushing, which is where I take paint, wipe most of it off and on my rag so that there's not a lot of moisture in the brush. And then by kind of scrubbing on to the page, you're able to get this suggestion of kind of wispy, spindly aspect of trees instead of trying to paint every tree branch, especially the small one. So I'm doing that for this tree here in the corner as well. And as you just start filling in spaces, I'm running out of big spots, so I'm using a smaller flat brush here. And once you've laid in your darks, you can kind of have a system going where you start looking for smaller and smaller shapes. So here I'm using burnt sienna, a little bit of cerulean blue. And it's amazing how red this color looks. Burnt sienna by itself is not very red, but in the context of all the other colors in this painting, it's pretty red for the trim on those garages. And this is a building, a rooftop in the distance, and another reddish roof. So I added a little bit more burnt sienna to this mix to get this other rooftop. And at the edge of the alley, that complex there's a reddish roof. So it's going to be a mixture of white and burnt sienna, a little bit of cerulean. And I almost forgot to put the shadow for that roof, but you always want to be looking for like everything that's going to cast a shadow and make sure you get those in. That really helps with the creation of depth. So here I'm kind of reinforcing some of the shadows and darkening them. Once you cover the page like this, or mostly have it covered, then again you can kind of get an idea for how dark and light things need to be. And so I see like, okay, I want to actually go darker with some of my shadows. And at the beginning these shadows looked extremely dark, but now that more of the white of the page is covered, I can kind of come back in and darken. And there's that pole that went on that garage that I painted over, and I can bring it back again just because gouache is opaque. That would be a lot harder to do in watercolor. So I'm putting in these light poles down the way a little bit, and it's a lot lighter color, not just because it's receiving sunlight, but also because of atmospheric perspective. Things more distant are going to be lighter in tonal value, and things closer are going to be more contrasted and more dark, usually more saturated as well. So here I forgot to put in these shadows for these kind of weeds and things, so I'm kind of slowly finding my way to the shadow and highlight there, and I'll adjust that later. But it's kind of like you lay down some colors, you get an idea, maybe you get it approximately close, and then you can adjust it and refine it later. So just a process of trying something and then seeing what you can do to change it. So here I'm putting in a stronger shadow that for these bushes down in the way. And again, using a smaller flat brush is going to allow me to get in the gutters here. This is burnt sienna and ivory black, and I'm going to use that for the shadow under the eaves here, the edge of the roof, I guess. And this is essentially just ivory black, maybe a little bit of white and yellows mixed into that to give it some color, and trying to create the darkness that's in the dumpster here. I like taking people's questions, so if you'd like your question answered about painting dog portraits or pet portraits, leave your question in the comments below, and I'll answer it when I post this painting in a video coming up soon. And this is cerulean blue mixed with ivory black. I was trying to figure out how am I going to get a deep dark black, but if you have those two colors mixed fairly purely, you get a good dark blue that way. Not quite ultramarine, but something that works in the context of the colors in this scene. And because this is like a 1 point perspective, we're looking down an alleyway, looking to make some more interest down at the end so that your eye has somewhere to travel, and like putting in these puddles in the shadows and just adding smaller and smaller details and textures, and fixing different edges and things like that. I wanted to add the telephone lines and electric poles here. This is just pure black. I probably could have gotten a finer line with a pen or something like that, but I didn't have one with me, so I was happy to use the brush. And I like, obviously, it's more painterly, and that's why I have a small round brush. So I try to do just 3 brushes with this painting, and I try to hold out with the fine brush till the very end, and try to cover as much ground as I can with larger brushes. And it helps you get it done a lot quicker that way.
Chris said, I can't think of what to ask other than how do you make it look so good? And the interesting thing with that is that there's so many definitions of what looks good. I think kind of coming up with a rubric for yourself is kind of how you can decide that. I mean, I liked the composition. I think a lot of your scenes will be determined by thinking about your composition and doing a little thumbnail sketch at the beginning. I also think focusing on trying to get a strong sense of light and dark and paying attention to the forms like that. I think looking at using interesting colors. I've never used this set of colors before, but I really like that. I was able to get a lot of muted colors, and so I think every artist needs to think for themselves what appeals to them, or set a goal. Sometimes the goal is just to get out and sketch anything, just to keep your skills going and just to enjoy the experience of sketching. And I really advocate that everybody should do that. But even so, you can say, I want to work on my tonal values. I want to work on my perspective or atmosphere. I want to work on using different colors. There's so many things that you can decide to work on, and then I think you're aiming for that goal as an artist, and then you kind of determine, did I hit it or not? There's so many good reasons to make art and so many ways to make art, but ultimately I think it comes down to your own personal taste. And also, don't discount, maybe you think your art isn't that good, but somebody else will really appreciate it and enjoy it. I think that's why I always like to tell people that you have a voice that matters. So go be creative, and I'll see you next time.